It ain't easy being a man these days. Hard to even say for sure what a man is. A provider, a lover, maybe even a hero. One thing's for sure. A journey towards being whatever a real man should be doesn't need to be done alone. The Gentlementor are here to help you navigate that, so you never have to go alone.
Hey,
Gentlementor.
thanks for joining the Gentlementor this week. We're so glad that you're here. Hey, here's the best part of your week. This that you're listening to or watching right now is totally free. It's totally free. The only investment it requires is a little bit of your time. And what we'd also like to have from you is a little bit of your voice too. Please connect with us. YouTube, get us in the comments, BitChute, Instagram. Please reach out there and grab us. Let us know what's going on. We'd like to hear what's going on in your life. We got some people we follow. We're a community of people, mostly men, all over the planet.
Building the community.
Building a community of men helping each other. That's what we are. We're men helping men do manly things.
Being intentional.
And being intentional, yes.
Half penny.
Most importantly, though, we're talking about change because we want to change because one of the hardest things to do is to change. One of my favorite scenes that I think this should be the intro to every podcast we do about change is from the old Red Green show. At the end of the Red Green show, when they go downstairs to the Possum Lodge and they assemble the Possum Lodge membership.
Right, everybody's in there.
Everybody's in there. They all bow their heads for the man prayer. And the man prayer is, I'm a man. I can change if I have to, I guess. And it's so indicative to the way men are. And a lot of times the way men are perceived as well is that they don't change.
Red Green is a master class in male philosophy.
He's
unappreciated, so under the radar.
It is, absolutely. And, if you get I think Freebie has a entire channel that just plays the Red Green show.
Yeah.
I know the Roku channel.
Roku channel, yeah.
Roku channel,
Roku channel's live TV thing has it, yeah.
Yeah,
they've got the girls were home over the holidays, I put it on. I'm like, let me abuse you.
So listen, if you're that show ended, what was it, 2009 or something like that? It ran
again,
for
we
10
are
or 15
not
years.
Sponsored by Red Green.
We are not.
If you send us stuff,
but hey,
we'll mention it more.
Steve Green, if you're out there and you're listening and you'd love to send us, I don't know, a hockey stick or a dead possum, we put it on the show for you because a roll of duct tape. And also another good quote: "The women can't find you handsy, that at least ought to find you handy." Yeah. So that's duct tape for you.
Handsome.
Yeah, or handsome. No, did I say it right?
You said handsy. If women don't find you handsy, they should find you handy. I'm like.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I don't know.
Try it again. I'll edit that.
Okay. If women can't find you handsome, they should at least find you handsome.
There you go.
Did I get it that time?
You got it.
Right on. All right. That's what we should do. Let's call up Steve Green, see if he wants to be on the show. Now that would be a zinger right there.
There you go. We could be a permanent co-host.
Ooh.
So we're talking about change.
Yeah, we're talking about change. And I mentioned something last week that we were going to come back to.
You did.
And I mentioned someone had said that, the reason why a change fails is because there's no actual spiritual reason to change. There's nothing deep down inside that reason why you want to change. And I think just changing something because either, number one, you don't like it or you think it's wrong, those are not good objects to base change on. Or if someone... even if someone else doesn't like it, because those things are prone to change as well.
Exactly.
I mean, we used to hate to see women in pants, decades and decades ago. Now it's not a big deal. That's all changed.
I still do. I hate that.
No, I didn't say clothed. I said in pants. So those things are prone to change over time. So those aren't some good reasons. So anyway, that said, go.
Yeah, I think that. What you said right there. So many people are trying to change things based on not only what someone else doesn't like, but what they think someone else will like. I'm going to change to make myself better so you will like me.
Yeah.
that behavior wrecked 98% of the
For
first
sure.
half of my
Mhm.
life. Don't do that. Don't sell yourself out for acceptance from other people.
Yeah.
It's just bad. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because I can say a lot. Now, this is another thing. You can't change for that reason because it's not a strong enough reason. Also, not strong enough reason. God bless Whitney Houston. I believe the children are our future too. Learning to love yourself. This was what I was told.
Watson.
Like, if you want to change, if you really want to change, you've got to do it for you because you love you and it's important to you. The problem is that behavior
Mhm.
was an open statement of my dislike for myself. I was already announcing in big giant letters, don't like me.
Yeah.
I don't like me. So
Right.
turning around going, love you, buddy.
Yeah.
Was too far away. It was a goal I could not attain. I couldn't get my head around that. But now, having experienced change, it's a holistic motivation. I mean, it's got to be, right? I mean, not just because you want to and you can, but because there's a purpose. Purpose, I think, is always spiritual. And not just because it's a spiritual thing, but it's because it's something that speaks
That's
to
good.
us spiritually.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And it like this Hell's Kitchen. Oh, the passion. You have to have passion for your cooking and passion and passion. And people love to say passion, passion. I think there's more like what most people experience. There's something that you come across in your life and it grabs your heart. It grabs you. You're not grabbing it. It's almost
Yeah.
like a mutual thing. Listen, I've done every fad diet that was around throughout the 80s. And
Yeah.
they were ridiculous and always counterproductive.
Well, thinking through that as you're talking, I'm like, okay, there's different levels of changes because, we get this idea that we're like, well, I want to change this about myself because I don't like myself, or I don't like this, or she doesn't like this in me, so I'm going to change that. And then a lot of times it flops out. And the younger we are, I think that's easier to do. If you're a 14-year-old boy and some girl comes up to you and goes, I love it when you brush your hair back. Well, I'm brushing my hair back every day. That's easy. I've changed. Now I don't have a comb over or whatever. I got whatever.
Everything's
What
going
I'm trying
straight
to say.
back
Yeah,
now.
everything's cool. That's easy. It's easy when you're young. When you get older, and it's like, I feel kind of fat. I think I'm gonna go on a diet. I think I'm gonna do. I don't feel good, or whatever it is, and you just go now. Then you get to those points where some people walk into a doctor's office and they say, "Look, I'm gonna give you 2 years to live unless you change this right now." There's a little bit more motivation for change. There's a little bit more purpose, I guess you would say. People who have had a near-death experience come, whether it's a car accident or whatever, they have a near-death experience and they realize they've come face to face with the very fact that they are mortal and their time here is
a radical
finite. Yes. And then they realize I've got to make some changes, and for what reason?
Perspective.
And now they have a purpose in there.
Purpose and perspective.
And a perspective. Yes, because you've seen something.
And purple.
But there are reasons to change that still can be, we use the term spiritual kind of loosely here, but again, like you said, I think you said it right. You said every purpose is spiritually based.
Yeah.
So, if in my sense of being a Christian, I would say something along the lines of like, well, I'm not putting that junk in my body because my body is the temple of the Spirit of God.
Right.
And so I'm going to treat it well. Maybe that's not everybody's thing. Maybe your thing is, hey, I want to be able to play catch with my son when I'm 47.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hold my grandbabies. I want to run and play with them. There's some things you're going to have to do as you get older, make some changes so that you can do those kinds of things. So there's purpose behind that. So that's what we need to look for. I think that's the biggest thing we need to look for when we're looking at something to change is, number one, is it worth changing, Doug?
No, it's not worth changing, Doug. Definitely not.
Is it worth changing? That needs to be the first question. And
then
then the next question will be, for what reason am I going to make this change?
Right.
What purpose?
The purpose is critical to me in everything. Like
absolutely
having a purpose, knowing the purpose, and then moving toward that. I wanted to jump back to something you said before. Right, 'cause right before that last blast, you mentioned something in passing, and I was trying to keep it in my head, and there I lost
Mm.
it.
That's why I got the fancy notepad here to write these
Cool.
things down.
Um, you said a thing about it being spiritual. Oh, no, here's another thing that I hate to tell anybody. Terrible life change advice that I got lots. Right next to you got to do it because you love yourself.
Uh,
Small, attainable daily goals. Look, I hate that. I want to go fix the problem. I do not want small, attainable goals. I want
You
to
don't
be
want it?
done. This is not done. This never gets done. This ties back to the thing you said in the previous episode. This is the hardest part of change is you got to keep changing every day. You have to hold on to that last bit of change and
Yep.
constantly threaten new levels. And so you're in that situation. Now, if you don't think of it like that, if you think of it like, for me, it took this shift. And it took like relating, because I love analogies and everything, and it's like going back to lifting weights. Well, when I went back to lifting weights, I didn't lift all the weights all day on day one. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way.
right.
You've got to build up strength and stamina. You've got to build up momentum, just like we talk about building momentum by small daily changes. Something attainable you can do. That's why those steps are critical. That informs everything else you're going to do. You're laying the foundation work. I can do now, drum roll please, some push-ups.
All
When I
right.
first
Good for you.
started and thought, I'm going to do push-ups because I heard a thing about push-ups. I'm like, I haven't done push-ups in a long. I'm going to get out and do push-ups. And I went like, no, you're not. No, you're an old man. You have not done a push-up since high school. You don't just get back in the push-up line. It doesn't happen. You get about 3 really shaky, oh, I hope I don't smash my face on the floor, day 1.
Yeah.
And you do that for a couple weeks, you might get up to 5. But you got to keep going. You don't want to
Yeah.
stop because it's like
Yeah.
that sunk cost thing. This is where sunk cost works well.
Yeah, for sure.
But you cannot build that entire life change that you want. If your goal is, I want to lose 100 pounds, there's a lot of little goals you need to accomplish building that giant structure.
Yeah.
You don't go out and say, I'm going to build a house. Give me a tree and try to saw it into the shape of a house so you can set that up and move into it. You know that's ridiculous.
Right.
We've been watching these guys building a log cabin. And it's a father and son, and they're building their own log cabin, and they've got the cool tools and they've got the know-how. But they're just cool school hanging out building this cabin. You can't believe how many steps are in this. I'm like,
yeah.
I'd have been moved in in the first week. And these guys are like doing everything by hand, like cutting everything, even like falling on trees and cutting their own finished lumber and stuff. They'll like do the interiors and just every piece of every piece. And like now you're watching this and I'm going, I don't have the patience for this. Then other brain jumps in and goes, wait a minute. You're only thinking about this as like you can't do woodworking and how hard that would be. You're not thinking about the fact that this is one guy and his dad, and that this guy is constantly repositioning cameras and thinking about camera angles and different shots while he's doing this. And climbing up and down the ladder with logs and then coming down and moving the camera and setting it and going and getting the next log to carry up. It was like suddenly this really relaxing thing became almost too intense to watch. But it's like the layer upon layer upon layer. It's like you go out in the woods and you see this gorgeous little cabin. It's so pretty. It looks like a little Lincoln log cabin.
I'm sure it's magnificent.
It's adorable. But when you see what went into it, it's like, I don't even know if I could go and sit and relax in that thing. Because just my mind would be like, isn't there something else we need to do?
Yeah. That's funny.
It's amazing, but that's what people don't realize. Like, I talk to different dudes on Instagram that are like trying to make life change stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna encourage you because that's the best thing anybody ever did for me. It's like once I got to the point where I made it past the initial encouragement, like that used to be the problem before. Like, good job. I can really tell you're losing weight. Up, done. And finished.
That was my goal, to make you notice. That was it.
It
No,
was
we talked.
that's the problem with setting those goals on what other people
Yeah,
like and trying to win other
yeah,
people's stuff. Is like, man, once
yeah.
you get it, it's like, uh-oh.
It's all about the habits. It's about, and like we mentioned when you were doing push-ups and do push-ups. I don't know if we recorded that spot, but I was encouraging you to just still get in the floor.
Yeah,
Just take that time
it's
and get
in
in the
there.
floor.
It's in there.
It's in there. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So just take the time and get in the floor, even though you couldn't do, because you were physically incapable of doing them at the time because of an injury, which is understandable, but you still made a habit of, this is where I do push-ups. I just physically can't do one right now. But I'm laying. Same thing when I'm going for a walk, okay, you're not going for a walk, but you're going to sit there and look out the window, listen to classical music and not be on your screen or whatever. But that's intentional because I'm supposed to be walking, but I can't because I've got an injury. Fine. That's what it's about. It's about building those habits. And we talked about that. Going back to what I wanted to mention, because we were going back to the purpose and we're talking about that. A great resource for this would be Simon Sinek's book, Find Your Why. Because if you don't know your why, and you've heard this, it's all over the internet. If you don't know your why, you lose your way. That's the thing. And that's the whole premise of that book, is to find your why. Why are you wanting to make a change? Why are you doing this? Is it just because you want to get noticed? Those whys have to run deep. They have to run deep. They can't just be surface level, because I want to look good in a swimsuit. Or, those are so superficial. I mean, what's the deeper level of that? Well, the deeper level of looking good in a swimsuit is the fact that you're probably going to look good in a swimsuit for a very long time, and while everyone else is gone. I mean, that, because you're taking care of yourself.
Right.
Or whatever. Or, it could be as simple as like, I want to outlive my family, or I want to get a college degree because no one in my family did. So you found a why that runs to a deeper level. And the why is not because my parents expected me to. No, it's because I'm going to be the first guy in my family to ever get a college diploma, to get a degree in something.
Interestingly, like that incremental approach can help you develop that exact thing, because so often, and we've mentioned this before, the things that we set out to change turn out to not be the things that need to be changed. They are the deeper issues, the things that are underlying those. Yeah, right on, man, right on.
And
well said, sir.
Here's another piece of wisdom that goes right
me.
along with what you were saying about doing these incremental things. And when you were talking about the guys building the log cabin, I was thinking, okay, so there's a spiritual principle that we heard in a give me a minute, a parable from a Jewish rabbi who talks about who builds a tower and doesn't count the cost first, doesn't plan out, doesn't go, okay, do we have enough for the foundation? Do we have enough for this? And realize when you're building a tower that you realize this is not a weekend project. This is going to be decades in the making.
Yeah.
And so you have to take those little bitty steps like you were talking about. The first thing, you're going to build a tower. Well, first of all, how much is it going to cost? Okay, maybe we don't have all the money right now, but that money's going to come as we start to move. And now we're going to, okay, what's it going to look like? Where are we going to put it? What's it going to be made of? There's so many things. What do I want to use it for? And then there's so many things. And then when you get to the actual physical stage of doing something, you're clearing ground for 4 months to build something. You don't see anything. Yeah, you don't see anything. And then you're digging holes, you're digging foundations. And then you're pouring foundations and, and rebar and all that stuff. And then there's all the back stuff that nobody sees, the plumbing, the electricity, all that kind of stuff. And I think we ought to approach the change in our lives a lot like that, where we go, okay, this is where I want to be. This is where I am. And now here's all these incremental spots in between just to get there.
Yep.
And we have to think about it. And maybe some things that we want to change aren't that hard and not that detailed, but it requires those steps on a continual basis to hit them so that you can continue to vote for the person that you want to be and not the person that you dropped off already. Vote for you. It's you against you. Vote for the you that you want to be. Yeah. You have discipline versus inspiration, part 2, train tracks. What is that? Did we already hit that one?
I don't know. Probably. It's just talking about like discipline being the tracks to keep your train running. Like when you hit a bad day, you hit something, one of the bad changes comes, something you don't like. You don't know what to do. That your daily discipline is like train tracks, and you can just put the train on the tracks and let it run. You don't have to wait for inspiration. That's my aunt is like that's her. She's always reading spiritual books in the Bible and waiting for God to inspire her to do things. And I'm like, I think what maybe scripture, maybe the last thing inspired. I'm not sure. I don't keep tabs on him like that. But like you cleaning your house, I don't think there's going to be an angelic hosts will appear and
Probably not. Yeah.
And I'm like, she's an extreme case, but that's all part of that kind of mentality that says it's not exactly the same victim mentality that says all of my problems are coming from the outside, but it's this other victim mentality where someone's coming to save me. This is one of the things I loved about Adam Brimson's "The Government Will Not Save You" shirts. It's like no one's coming to save you.
Yeah.
No one's coming to rescue you. I waited for everything, it seemed like, for a long time. But I waited for inspiration. Inspiration will strike, and eventually, once I'm inspired, I'll want to do this. And I guess on some level, inspiration did strike. But, it wasn't just inspiration. There was perspiration that had to go into it, too. The action, not just the mental part. But the mental part's so easy. It's like you were talking about people sitting around talking about, oh, I don't feel good. Oh, I'm not in good shape. Oh, I should lose some weight. Oh, look how I look. And now some of that is just people fishing for compliments. It's just psychology 101.
Sure. Yeah.
But a lot of that is people actually excusing that thing because in their minds, like verbally slapping themselves, like prostrating, the flatulence that they do, not the farting, but the hitting yourself. The whacking yourself with these criticisms, especially in front of other people, is kind of has a weird cathartic cleansing thing. And it's like, well, I didn't change the thing, but I kind of beat up on myself for it a little bit.
Right.
And it's like, and I only bring that up because I did so much of it. And it's like, why didn't somebody stop me and go, that's ridiculous?
What is that? What is that called in Catholicism? What is that called? Is that penance?
Yeah.
Where there's different types of penance. I know.
Yeah. There's verbal penance and there's physical penance.
There's physical
shy
penance.
away from that, but yeah, in some places they still do that.
They do. But my point is, why is humanity so prone to being self-abusive like that? Why
because the alternative is to actually do change.
But again,
if I can't avoid looking at this thing. I'm clearly seeing this thing. It's in me because I'm talking about it.
right.
I can at least verbalize, oh, I wish this wasn't that way. But when I wish to me sounds like I'd like this to happen if I didn't actually have to invest anything into it.
Ooh.
Anything. Effort, money,
Ooh,
time.
that's so good.
I
Why
just
would you
want that thing to show up.
take
magically.
the phrase "I wish that" out of your vocabulary?
Why?
Because that's exactly what it means.
Yeah. You don't need
It
to
said,
wish.
I want there to be something without my investment.
Do it or shut up.
Yeah,
There's no genies.
exactly.
Nobody's
No.
coming to rescue you.
Nobody's
to you.
coming. Nobody's
Unless
coming.
you're just telling yourself, you know what I wish you'd do? Now, I can relate to that because there's mornings when I'm out walking and my brain is going, it's cold, I don't want to go. You know what I wish you'd do?
I wish you would shut the F up. That's what I
Yeah.
wish you would do.
I wish you'd go walk on another street. How about that?
Ooh,
Can you do
yeah.
that for me?
You could do it, man. Does
But-
he comply? He probably doesn't, does he?
Nah, would do me no good.
Hmm.
Begging for it now. We're doing weights 5 days a week.
Nice. Good for you.
No.
No, it is good for you. And it's
It
not
is
good.
good for me.
It's not
Nice.
good
It
for
is
you.
not nice.
No, it's not nice for you. It is
There's
good
nothing
for you.
nice about it.
Yeah, I should probably do some stuff like that, but I can't. I am reluctant to make the choice.
You just don't feel like it.
I don't.
It's fine. I
No, it's not.
excused myself for 50 years. That's what was. I didn't feel like it. I wanted to change. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to look different, but I didn't want to do the work.
Yeah.
I was having too much fun. I don't want
Yeah.
to say no to 16 slices of pizza and everybody taking me to Golden Corral and all you can eat. And why would I want to give that up? It was so much fun.
Stop that. Talking about the Golden Corral.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just there's a couple things like that. It's like I want to get out and walk more, but it's too cold. I want to do a little bit of running. I want to try to run a
Careful.
little bit.
Careful.
I want to.
It almost took me out.
I just say I want to get into. I want to get back to. I want to get back to those things. And I'm just having. I am too comfortable in my routine the way that I am now that I'm just like.
Can I butt in? This is wrong of me.
Well,
Never tell you. Never.
No.
Never. Ever.
What
You've
you're going to
got-
speak to me on this? You should.
You spend most of your time in that room.
Probably, yeah.
You got
Especially
those.
during the
you
day.
got like those Solo Flex dumbbells. Why don't
They're
you
right
put 'em
outside
in
the
there?
door.
Oh,
They're right
great.
outside the door.
Like
Yeah.
you told me about, like sometimes I just got to get out of here. Well, go out and like throw a couple curls. You don't have to do
Yeah.
1,000. Do
Yeah.
a little, just
Yeah.
kill some time. That's how I got myself to do it. The first thing I told myself, you don't have to do this tomorrow. One of the best pieces of reverse psychology I've ever used on myself. I used
Oh,
that
wow.
for weeks. You don't have to do this. You do not have to do it. You don't want to do it? Don't do it.
You don't. You don't. My English teacher, my high school English teacher, my senior year used the same reverse psychology because she would get her students to go, she'd make an assignment. They go, do we have to do this? And she'd go, no, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. It's completely optional. And the kids were just like, oh, really? And then the smart kids in the class are going, yeah, but there's a price to pay.
The
Because everyone
repercussions
else
are
is
also
looking for a
yours.
way out,
Yeah.
and that's what happens. We're all looking for that way out,
Mhm.
but you're going to pay the price. You either pay it now
Yes.
or you pay it later. So
And I can make that ding. There, I'll make that pop up. Ding.
Okay.
That little quote that I always try to quote and never can get it right, so I wind up putting it. It's on standby. The train tracks of discipline. Don't be an inspiration dolt. Yeah, that was so weird.
so the word discipline gets a bad rap.
It does. 'Cause people don't know what it means.
So does right, and so does anyway. It gets a bad rap. Discipline just means control. In simple terms, it just means control. It's like the boundaries of a soccer field or a football field. If you're our friends in England, the boundaries are there. That's discipline, because game is just chaotic if you don't have boundaries, right? So the ball has to stay in play. The game has to be in that square on the right side. You can't be offside. So there are boundaries. That's discipline. Discipline is not necessarily correction. Like we say, we're going to discipline your child. No, I'll correct him, but I'm always disciplining him. Discipline is control. It's giving boundaries, giving the place
Also
where you
not
need to be.
punishment.
It's also
Completely
not
different
punishment. Yes, that's why it
Completely
gets a
another
bad rap.
Yep.
That's
because
why it
they
gets a
all
bad
get
rap.
confused.
Yes, because they're like, oh, well, you shouldn't discipline. You shouldn't discipline. Well, you shouldn't discipline your car then. Take your hands off the wheel. If you're not going to discipline
Yep.
anything, take
Just
your hands off the wheel of your
ignore
car.
those lines on
Just
the road.
ignore it. Let it do its thing. Just step on the gas, put it in drive, step on the gas, because let it do its thing, because you don't want to discipline. You certainly don't want to control it.
Mayonnaise and mustard be darned.
So anyway, yeah, discipline gets a bad rap,
It
and
does.
that's too bad,
Discipline.
because you need that. That's what the train tracks are. It's discipline. It's to keep that thing. Well, you can't. All right. Well, we'll wrap this up. This has been the Gentlementor, and we're so glad that you've joined us. And
Thank you.
we're looking to hear from you.
Join us again.
Yes, thank you for joining us. We're looking to hear from you.
Count that
Please connect with
cost.
us. Connect with us. Let us know the change that you're facing. We know change is hard, and sometimes you do have to endure change you don't choose to go through. And that's another thing. And perhaps that'll be another topic in the very near future, because a lot of times you just have to endure change. But change is good, I think. In most cases, change is good. It's good for us to initiate that change, and it's good for us to go through the changes that are come about us in life. So anyway, thanks for joining us. And go ahead, say something you were gonna. Oh, okay. Thought you were gonna. All right. Yeah,
I was, but
All right. Join us again next week. We're glad to have you guys. Peace out.